All right. Well, 3 for Madness question 1. Duh. Jeez.
Would you be in favor of adding Russell Westbrook?
Yeah. So, I don't know. Yeah. Sure. Hey, sure. Why not? It would almost certainly be for the MLE. I'm of two minds, guys. I don't really know how. I'm going to explain to you why I'm struggling with this question, because I think it will make sense from an analytical point of view. Just a straight no. They have 700 guards and they don't have a power forward. Go find a power forward or something close to it. I'm still pissed they didn't trade for John Collins. And I'm just saying, just from a straight, like, you want to be the best team you can point of view, I believe they have more need at the 4 than they do at the 1. They got their straight up point guard in Dennis Schroeder, and you can go backup point guard by committee with Monk or Carter or Keon, or there's already way too much going on in the backcourt. And I understand that Scott Perry would almost certainly move somebody if they brought in Westbrook. And look, the long-term play here may be, and I'm not reporting this. I'm just looking at the chessboard, guys, that maybe you can bring in Westbrook because you're moving one of those guards off as part of a deal for Jonathan Kuminga. Well, then, okay, now that still makes a little bit of sense. On the other hand, this is why I have trouble with the answer here. From a, you want the best basketball team possible standpoint, no. From a, I keep saying I don't really, they're not going to be good next year. I don't care about wins next year. If it was up to me, they'd be clearing all salary off the books that they can, with the exception of Sabonis, unless they got a great deal for him, and focus on playing the young dudes. Play Nate Clifford, play Raynaud, play Ellis, play Keegan Murray, put him in a focal point. That's what I want. So, Jason, on one hand, it's not, I don't think it's a tremendous need. On the other hand, it doesn't matter. Screw it. Go ahead. We're still going to win 40 games.
Yeah, I think that what you said here, they're just the signing in and of itself. If they do that, it just brings up a ton of questions, and that we may not have answers to. I think you addressed most of them, but I'm going to go to one area where I know what you've said, and you're not wrong in it. Whereas, like, technically, Keon and Carter and Monk and Nate Clifford and maybe others can play it. I still think they're light at the position. I don't think it's the number one position that they're light at, but right. And not in guards in general. I'm talking about point guards. So I think the idea, the concept of Westbrook and Schroeder being here, I think makes that position better. I still think then they've got 1,900 guards, like you said, overall, like combo guards, light in the front court. So I already feel like they need to do another move or two anyway, but this feels like it has to happen if they do this. He's been a winner. He's made some teams better. I think he's a little bit quirky and an enigma at times too. So it's weird. I still think also at the end, it reminds me a little bit, if the Kings were to do it, Dave, of a team that, well, I guess in this case basketball, but if it's football or baseball, it's like sometimes someone is added and you're like, yeah, it's a little bit of a weird move. But by like the trade deadline, that player is then moved for someone else. I think he would be very movable for another team looking to acquire him. I think Schroeder could be the same, and some of the guys they've added, but it doesn't feel like it just totally makes sense in a way that you're going, I see what they're doing here. So the puzzle's not complete. If he does become a King, there's some of it that makes sense, some of it that doesn't, and it just feels like it just leads to a lot more questions for me.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's part of what I think we're going to see with this team, which is they're going to be a bit of a platypus. And how long have we talked about this team being imbalanced, whether it was Fox and Halliburton in the backcourt, or they can't find a small forward, or now they can't find a power forward and they need to play. Whatever, who cares?
Yeah, just one more thought on that. Like, obviously by contract, they've signed Schroeder to be the point guard, right? Are you like, if it was truly like Doug Christie, if they signed Westbrook today and Doug Christie and Scott Perry said, no, that position is open, are you 100% sure that Schroeder would get that over Westbrook for getting contracts? Like if we just said, no, I mean, and maybe a ton of people I thought, of course, but like Westbrook's had the much better career. I'm not saying they're the same player now, but Westbrook's been a much better player.
I can't be 100% sure about any of it. But to the spirit of your question, I have to think that part of him signing Dennis Schroeder and getting Schroeder to come here was letting him know that he was signing him to be the starting point guard. I would assume that was part of the conversation in recruiting him. That being said, it's a dangerous game. It's one thing if you're trying to get Jaylen Brown to sign here and you're saying you're going to be our starting two. Well, duh. Yeah. But it's a dangerous game when you're talking to play. That opens up the question. Well, how many other NBA teams would Dennis Schroeder be starting for?
Right.
But how many other NBA teams would Russell Westbrook be starting for? Maybe it's a by committee thing. I don't know, but I can see what Scott Perry. I understand his philosophy here, which is we have to change the culture. So we're going to bring in culture setters. You've got a first ballot Hall of Famer that a lot of these guys grew up worshiping. You got a guy in Dennis Schroeder that's not going to take any crap, with a coach that's not going to take any crap. And so maybe for guys, look, Zach LaVine, and whereas DeMar DeRozan is 100% a good example to follow, not that LaVine isn't, they don't seem very rah-rah, in your face, hold you accountable on the bench, in a timeout type of dudes. And to be honest, neither is Sabonis.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand what he's trying to do culture-wise. I just, where's this text here? Dave, you're hilarious. Watch them be decent and good without the drama of last year. Remember this day, because I'm going to come at you when they are. They have too much talent to be super bad. I don't think I've ever once said they're going to be super bad. I think I've very consistently said they're going to flirt with 500 plus or minus a couple of games, that their ceiling is mid to high 40s. And I think their floor, at least as constructed now, is probably mid 30s to, it's almost like the Happy Gilmore conversation. I don't want to beat this into the ground because we have this every few weeks, it seems. But what some people just, you want to believe, and you want to, and anything else is negative or Debbie Downer. It's like, brother, if you think that way, I would like to start by seeing you. Why don't you send me on Twitter? Send me your betting slip for the over on wins this year with a good amount of money put in that slip. Because it's one thing to be like, I think they're gonna. It's another thing to look at this team and go, yeah, we talked about it, Jason. There is a lot of talent on this team individually, but the combination of this talent is completely imbalanced. And I don't think Westbrook really changes that much.
Yeah. And I'm just trying to think, at where we were feeling at this point last year versus this year. And really the difference, to the core is Fox, right? If they start the year with this being the team, there's Sabonis would likely start, DeRozan, Keegan Murray. Those were 3/5 of the starters last year, LaVine instead of Fox, and then Schroeder. But so it's not drastically different. I think the difference is, though, we also saw the team kind of be mid last year, right? They were fighting for the play-in and lost at home, so it wasn't like the team thrived last year.
And that was with Fox, and Fox is a better player than Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine is a very good player. De'Aaron Fox is a better player, and this team was mid with Fox last year. Yeah. Now they've.
And they had other stuff happen, but still.
Sure. But the bulk of the team that they had that other stuff happen with is here still.
And I think even while last year was going on, we thought maybe the team could have been a little better, but no one was going, we're talking 3 to 5 wins more, maybe not, 10 to 12 and like, hey, they should have been a 2 seed. It was like, nah, maybe they could have been 6, right? Maybe.
Yeah. And I'd like to think there's going to be a breath of fresh air with Doug Christie. But again, I say this with all love and respect for Doug, who not only do I worship as a Kings player, not only do I respect him as to what he's given back to the team, but also I love him as a human. But we got to call balls and strikes. And I've asked this many times. Are there any other NBA teams Doug Christie would have been hired as the head coach? There's a lot of flyers being taken. By the way, Doug Christie might be the second coming of Red Auerbach or Greg Popovich or Casey Jones. I don't know, but there's if you don't think that this team is in the cycle of transition, and the only thing that's a mystery to me is, are they going to stretch this transition out by trying to hold on to be relevant in the play-in, or are they really truly going to do some short-term pain for long-term gain things? It's not a matter of being negative. It's not a matter of being a Debbie Downer. I'd love to be wrong, but we've had this conversation at the beginning of damn near every season, but the Bean team here, Jason.
Yeah, and I feel like of that possibilities that they're always going to try to be relevant, but as a byproduct, they might not be. I don't think that's the plan, but injuries or just talent's not meshing or whatever, and it's like, hey, all of a sudden it's a 30-win team as opposed to 38 to 42 to 44, and wow, that was a rougher year than people had expected. But I don't think that's my observations of it doesn't feel like that's anybody's plan.
Well, and we also have to remind ourselves that we're not talking about the Kings in a vacuum. The Thunder are the champions. The Rockets are going to be better. The Lakers are going to have a full year with Doncic. The Nuggets have added some players, and they've made a major trade. The Clippers have acquired 2 major players. The Timberwolves have made the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row. Who the hell knows with the Warriors, the Grizzlies, the Mavs, who will now have their people healthy, plus Cooper Flagg. And the San Antonio Spurs, as of right now, are picked to finish ahead. The Kings are going to be in this battle with most likely the Suns, the Blazers, the Pelicans, and the Jazz. Mm-hmm. And obviously, this, and I don't want to be silly here. There's going to be injuries, whether it's to the Kings or other teams. There will be a team that we think is a lock for the Western Conference playoffs that will not make it. But maybe I'm in the minority here. This Kings team doesn't strike me as the team that's like, oh, I didn't expect these young guys to do well. Look at them. We'll see. Maybe not. But that's what we have a full season for, of which I'm sure I'm going to be a completely tolerable person to listen to. Question 2, please.